And he says, take me to the center of the field. I want to look at both the armies. And Arjuna then looks at both the armies, and when he looks at one of the armies, he says, on the other side of this war are sons and uncles, my teacher, all those people with whom I have spent my life. And he is not ready to fight this war. So he tells to Krishna that even though I understand we have gone through a lot of wrongs, and we have been treated very unfairly, but I don't want to fight this war. And he says, because my teachers or my gurus are there who have taught me so many things, and the bow and the arrow that he's holding on his shoulder, he starts trembling and it just falls down. Because his grandfather, his guru, his teacher, so many of the people with whom he spent his childhood, they're all on the other side. And he's already thinking of the consequences of the war. If all these people die, the women are going to lose their husbands, they're going to become widows. A lot of children will grow fatherless, and a lot of people are going to get killed. He's like, am I ready to take that sin? And so what I'm talking to you today actually emanates from this discussion where Krishna then starts talking to him through this war that is already going on in his mind. So even before the physical war, it's first a mental war that starts happening. And one of the aspects of this war is tolerance. So I'm going to just read the shloka in Sanskrit. It says, Matra sparshe rupantaye susto krishna sukha dukkhada agampaino nityastama titikshava bharata. So he says, Krishna says, that the non-permanent appearance of happiness and distress and their disappearance in due course are like the appearance and disappearance of winter and summer. They rise from the sense perception. O sign of Bharata, one must learn to tolerate them without being disturbed. So this is a very deep discussion, but this is one of the shlokas that I picked today, is that he's talking about the situation. Situations are never permanent, they're temporary. It's like we have all the four seasons that come, right? You have winter, summer, spring, heat. They all come in a circle, they come and they go. But we learn to tolerate them, and that is what Krishna, he starts advising Arjuna, that you should have the patience to tolerate. So I'm going to go a lot deeper into this, because tolerance and forgiveness, they kind of go hand in hand. So we are going to talk about the 4 kinds of tolerance that one should cultivate in life. So the first one is Vega Sahishnuna. So this means within this there are 3. So there are 3 urges that we have. What is Kam, Krodh, Lobh? What is Kama? Kama is lust. So he's telling us within this, these are the things we should tolerate. Lust, Krodha is anger, and then finally Lobha is greed. Can anybody define lust? Because lust can be lust for power, lust for adoration, love for adulation, love for wealth, right? What does lust actually mean?
It's like a strong desire to achieve something.
Okay, very good. Anybody else wants to take, what is lust? So wisdom actually describes lust as the ungodly desire to satisfy. Because you can have something to satisfy yourself, but if you go beyond what you need, right? When you start breaking the limits, then it becomes an ungodly desire to satisfy. And then you have Krodha. When the desire is not satisfied, Gopal, you have to give rotis also. Fine rotis, okay? And when the desire is not satisfied, then what happens? You get angry. You have frustration. That is when Krodha comes in, right? And even when the lust is satisfied, does it end over there? No, right? That's when it changes into greed. So these are like three aspects of the tolerance, and I'm going to give you some examples where we talk about this. So the first example that I want to talk about is from a historical scripture which is called Ramayana. So in Ramayana, I'll explain briefly what it is about. There is a person called Ravana, and he is a very powerful king, and he takes away the wife of another person, Sri Ram, when they are residing in the forest because she's a very beautiful woman. So he takes away Sita. And so this is what Ravana was in the habit of doing. This was not the first time that he had taken or seen a beautiful woman and taken away. He had done that several times in the past. There was another woman called Vegavati. She was a very powerful ascetic. She was a woman ascetic that existed. She used to live in the forest, and he had done the same with her. So, did it mean that when Ravan got a beautiful wife called Mandodari, was that satisfied? No. The lust was never satisfied, right? One woman, then another woman, and then another woman. So he kept wanting more women. Another example of lust is, again from the historical literature called Shurpanakha. She is Ravana's sister, right? So Shurpanakha had this ability because she had done so many austerities and she was given this boon, you can make yourself as beautiful or change your face, whatever. So she sees another beautiful man and she changes her face, right? And she goes and says, hey, I am the sister of this powerful king Ravana, and I'd like to marry you. Would you want to marry me? But Rama says, no, I have taken the vow of that I'm only going to have one wife, and so I cannot marry you. And then of course, there's a whole argument that ensues. And then when she goes back to Ravana, she doesn't explain the whole context. What does she do? She speaks at length about Ram's wife and her beauty, because she knew that she could ignite that fire in Ravana, and that way she will get her revenge on both fronts. Not only she will get Ram, but Ravana would then take Sita away. So that is again lust. So the second example of lust. And then we have so many examples. It's like we have the pornography industry. What does that really work on? It really works on this quality which is lust. So lust is something which never ends, and that's why we know that this is a quality, or this is a thing that needs to be controlled. And when lust, when it goes on, and when you don't get what you want, as I talked before, we get angry, we get frustrated, right? And that is when anger comes in. So it's very hard to get over these things unless we have some sort of spiritual practices to control these things and to really think about it. And then finally we have greed also, right? So I'll give an example of greed. If there's a bag of rice, and suppose some person is carrying and it falls on the road, if you'll notice, the animals will just come and take what they want from that bag of rice. But if we leave it to the human beings, they'll pick up the whole bag and take away, right? That's the same thing in the jungle. We see that a tiger, he's hunting. But at the time when he's hungry, he'll only hunt one animal. He doesn't go, oh, I see 5 deers, I'm going to kill all 5 of them. And I'm going to save my food for the next 10 days. No, that is not the thought process that goes there. Because they are just thinking about their need. So there's enough in the world to satisfy everybody's need, but not enough to satisfy everybody's greed. So these are the 3 aspects that we have for Vega Sahishunas. These are the 3 aspects of the first kind of tolerance that needs to be controlled by us. I'd like to just sort of ask people, has anybody experienced, and I'm not saying you have but has anybody experienced a situation where they felt They were trying to tolerate some things, and what helped them to tolerate some situations in their life, especially when anger came, right? How did you handle or tolerate anger? Why should you tolerate anger? Can somebody tell me why should you tolerate anger?
Because it's unhealthy to channel it
Yeah.
in negative ways.
Right.
You know, I just breathe, you know.
Very good.
You have to face the consequences
After the anger is
Yeah.
over, right?
That's
Yes.
worse
Yes.
than the anger.
That's right. So they say that when you're angry, the worst things are even worse than if somebody shoots an arrow in your heart, right? And it goes and hits the heart. Much more damage is done by angry words when you insult someone, because those are forever imprinted in their mind. That's why they say the pen is mightier than the sword, because when you write or what you say from your mouth, you can never pull it back. So that's why, and when you are angry with someone, you're not only just like destroying your relationship, but if you hold on to it, nothing is getting sorted. It's like you're holding this coal of fire in your hand, right? You're angry on someone. Is the other person getting affected? No. You're the one who's breathing hard with all those thoughts and anger. It's the coal of hot fire that you hold in your hand. That's why it only impacts you, and it really destroys a relationship. So the one thing is, in human beings, we have the power to take a pause, right? If we look at all the species, the animals, they just act on impulse, right? I'm hungry, I'll eat. The lion can eat. But it's the human beings who can press the pause button and actually think about it. And that's why we have to tolerate. We have to give that pause button, because the decision making that happens between taking action and the pause button, that is what makes us human. Okay. And we can have like a separate class, because there are different techniques how we can control our anger. So I just want to talk about tolerance only. Anybody else has faced a situation where it was difficult to tolerate, and how did they tolerate, or any other aspects they might have faced about it? Anyone talk about it?
I kind of go to walking
Uh-huh.
if I get too much anger into it. Or, I felt many times I regretted, after anger, I kind of said some words which I shouldn't. And then, when
It's
I
a physical reaction, right? We start breathing hard, our nostrils are flaring, all these chemicals are released, right? Because when you get anger, it is fight or flight mode.